something. Have you ever noticed that the people who command the most respect rarely ask for it? They don't chase, they don't explain, they don't beg to be noticed. While everyone else is fighting to be seen, they quietly become impossible to ignore. The greatest mistake you can make is believing that attention is the same as value. It isn't. Attention is cheap. Power is rare. The louder you become, the less people wonder about you. The more you reveal, the less people imagine something. The harder you try to convince others of your worth, the more they question whether you truly possess it. Human nature has never rewarded desperation. It rewards certainty. The moment you stop asking people to look at you, they begin searching for you. Tonight, we are going to uncover one of the most dangerous truths about influence, respect, and personal power, because the strongest person in the room is rarely the loudest. It is the one whose silence creates curiosity. Every generation is taught the same invisible lie. Speak more, post more, explain yourself, prove yourself. Let everyone know what you're doing. Share every victory. Defend every criticism and swear every message. Fight every misunderstanding. Slowly, without realizing it. People become prisoners of other people's attention. Their happiness depends on being noticed. Their confidence depends on receiving approval. Their identity depends on constant validation. But there is a hidden cost to this lifestyle. The more desperately you seek attention, the more control you give away. Think carefully about this. If your mood changes because someone ignored your message, they control your emotions. If your confidence disappears because your achievements receive little recognition, they control your self-worth. If you cannot remain peaceful without being acknowledged, then your peace no longer belongs to you. This is how invisible chains are created, not through force, but through emotional dependence. Many people believe power comes from gaining more attention. Real power begins when attention is no longer something you need. There is something deeply unsettling about a person who is comfortable being unknown. They do not interrupt conversations simply to be heard. They do not constantly remind others of their accomplishments. They never compete for the spotlight. Yet somehow, everyone notices them. Why? Because mystery activates imagination. The human mind naturally fills empty spaces. When someone constantly explains themselves, there is nothing left to discover. When someone reveals every opinion, every plan, every emotion, and every detail of their life, they become predictable. Predictability weakens influence. Mystery strengthens it. Notice how the most unforgettable people always leave unanswered questions. You never fully understand them. You never completely know what they are thinking. You never become certain of their next move. That uncertainty commands attention far more effectively than endless words ever could. Silence has a strange psychological effect. Most people fear silence because silence exposes insecurity. They rush to fill every pause. They reveal secrets. They overshare. They defend themselves before anyone attacks. They speak simply because they cannot tolerate being misunderstood. But every unnecessary explanation reduces your strength. When someone falsely judges you, your first instinct may be to defend yourself. Ask yourself something. Who benefits from your explanation? Often, nobody. People rarely change their opinions because you argued harder. Instead, they quietly observe your emotional reaction. The more desperate your defense becomes, the more convinced they become that their judgment affected you. Calmness, however, communicates something entirely different. It tells the world that your identity does not depend upon anyone's opinion. That is confidence. Confidence is not speaking louder. Confidence is remaining unmoved. Another dangerous habit destroys personal power. Trying to convince everyone to stay, whether in friendships, relationships, or professional life, many people spend years chasing those who have already decided to leave. They negotiate for love. They bargain for respect. They beg for loyalty. But attention that must be begged for has already lost its value. People naturally appreciate what is freely given, but rarely respect what desperately follows them. This does not mean becoming cold. It means understanding one painful truth. something. Not everyone deserves continued access to your energies. Some people are only interested in your presence because they know you will never stop chasing them. The moment you stop running after them, they suddenly notice your absence. Not because you changed something, because your silence removed something they took for granted. Absence has a power that constant availability never possesses. Scarcity creates appreciation. Overexposure creates familiarity. Familiarity often creates indifference. Something. This principle applies everywhere, in conversations, in business, in leadership, in relationships, even in your own dreams. If every part of your life is permanently available to everyone, nothing about you feels valuable anymore. Something. Protecting parts of yourself is not secrecy. It is wisdom. You are not obligated to share every plan before it happens. You are not required to announce every goal. Sometimes the greatest victories are built in complete silence. Many dreams die because they receive applause too early. People celebrate the announcement instead of completing the work. The brain mistakes public recognition for actual achievement. Energy that should fuel discipline disappears into conversation. The wise person speaks less about future success and spends more time quietly becoming successful. Results always speak with greater authority than promises. The world has become addicted to visibility. Everyone is performing. Everyone is broadcasting something. Everyone wants to be seen, yet the rarest individual is the one quietly mastering themselves while nobody is watching. That person becomes dangerous, not because they seek power over others, because they have already gained power over themselves. Something. And that is the foundation of every lasting form of influence. When your emotions cannot be manipulated through praise or criticism, when your peace no longer depends upon external validation, when your purpose remains steady even in complete silence, you become difficult to control. People sense this immediately. They may not understand why they respect you, but they will feel it, because authentic strength cannot be performed. It can only be lived. One of the greatest illusions people carry through life is the belief that attention is proof of value. From an early age, many are conditioned to associate being noticed with being important. They learn to measure their worth by how often they are praised, how quickly others respond to them, or how much recognition they receive for their efforts. This habit quietly shapes their identity until they begin chasing approval without realizing it. They become performers instead of builders, constantly searching for reassurance that they matter. Yet attention is one of the most unstable currencies in the world. It changes with trends, emotions, convenience, and circumstance. Those who build their confidence upon it eventually discover that anything given by others can also be taken away by others. Human nature has always been fascinated by what appears secure within itself. People are naturally drawn toward individuals who seem complete without needing constant validation. There is something powerful about a person who walks into a room without demanding to be seen. They do not interrupt conversations to redirect focus toward themselves. They do not exaggerate their achievements to impress strangers. They are comfortable allowing others to underestimate them because they understand that genuine strength does not need immediate recognition. Their confidence comes from something much deeper than public opinion. It comes from knowing exactly who they are even when no one is watching. The opposite is equally true. The harder someone works to convince others of their importance, the more uncertain they appear. Desperation has a language that people instinctively recognize even if they cannot explain it. It reveals itself in excessive talking, unnecessary explanations, constant self-promotion, and an endless need to prove one's value. Every attempt to force admiration often produces the opposite effect. Instead of inspiring respect, it creates doubt. Instead of appearing confident, it exposes insecurity. People begin asking themselves why someone feels the need to work so hard for approval if they truly possess the qualities they claim to have. This is why begging for attention slowly weakens a person's influence. Every request for validation places emotional control into someone else's hands. Imagine waking up in a good mood only to lose your confidence because your message was ignored or your achievement received little acknowledgement. In that moment, something. Your emotional state is no longer your own. It has become dependent upon another person's decision to notice you. That dependence is invisible, but it is incredibly powerful. It allows other people's opinions to dictate your peace, your motivation, something, and sometimes even your identity. The strongest people refuse to hand over that authority. They understand that their value exists long before anyone recognizes it. A mountain does not become tall because people admire it. Something. The ocean does not become deep because someone praises it. Their greatness exists independently of observation. In the same way, your character should not fluctuate according to applause. Whether people celebrate your progress or completely ignore it, something. Your mission remains the same. Continue building, continue learning, continue growing. Let your standards become greater than your desire for recognition. Many individuals unknowingly waste years trying to convince others to appreciate them. Something. They constantly seek invitations from people who never prioritize them. They explain themselves repeatedly to those determined to misunderstand them. They invest enormous emotional energy into relationships where respect must always be negotiated. Something. This pursuit becomes exhausting because it is built upon an impossible expectation. You cannot force another person to recognize your value. Appreciation that must be begged for rarely lasts. Respect that is demanded rarely feels genuine. Something. Attention that is chased rarely brings satisfaction because it only creates the need for even more attention. There is a quiet freedom that arrives when you stop asking people to validate your existence. Suddenly, rejection loses much of its power. Something. Criticism becomes easier to examine without becoming personal. Silence from others no longer feels like punishment. You begin making decisions according to your principles rather than according to what will attract approval. Something. This transformation changes every area of life because your actions become rooted in purpose instead of performance. Instead of asking, will people notice this? You begin asking, is this worth doing? Something. That single shift separates those who live authentically from those who constantly perform for an audience. Social comparison is one of the greatest traps created by the pursuit of attention. Every day, countless people measure their lives against carefully constructed images presented by others. They compare careers, relationships, appearances, possessions, and accomplishments without realizing they are comparing their private reality to someone else's public performance. The result is predictable. They begin chasing visibility rather than substance. They focus on appearing successful instead of becoming successful. They become experts at presentation while neglecting personal growth. Yet history repeatedly shows that those who leave the deepest impact often spend years developing themselves away from public admiration before their work ever receives recognition. Confidence grows differently. It grows quietly through promises kept to yourself. Every difficult task completed without applause strengthens your identity. Every disciplined decision made without recognition reinforces self-respect. Every obstacle overcome in silence becomes evidence that your strength does not require witnesses. This form of confidence cannot be manufactured through compliments because it has been earned through experience. Once it develops, external praise becomes pleasant but unnecessary. Criticism may still hurt, but it no longer defines you. Approval may still feel encouraging, but it no longer controls your choices. Another hidden danger of seeking attention is that it often leads people to compromise their principles. When approval becomes the highest goal, integrity becomes negotiable. Individuals begin saying what others want to hear instead of what they genuinely believe. They change their personality depending on the audience. They sacrifice authenticity for popularity, hoping acceptance will finally bring peace. Instead, they experience constant anxiety because maintaining a false image requires endless effort. They become prisoners of expectations they created themselves, always afraid that revealing their true character will cost them the attention they worked so hard to gain. Real strength is built differently. It accepts that not everyone will understand you. It accepts that some people will overlook your efforts, dismiss your talents, or fail to recognize your intentions. Instead of exhausting yourself trying to change every opinion, you invest that energy into becoming better. something. You understand that excellence eventually creates its own recognition, even if it arrives later than expected. Your focus shifts from controlling perceptions to controlling your actions. Something. That is where genuine influence begins to grow, because people eventually trust consistency far more than self-promotion. The irony of human nature is that attention often arrives only after you stop chasing it. Something. People become curious about individuals who appear fully occupied by meaningful work rather than by the opinions of others. They notice those who remain calm while everyone else competes for the spotlight. Something. They respect those who maintain dignity without demanding appreciation. The less desperately you seek recognition, the more naturally respect begins to follow. Something. Because nothing communicates confidence more clearly than a person who already knows their worth before anyone else acknowledges it. There is an unusual power in leaving something unsaid. In a world where people are encouraged to reveal every opinion, every emotion, something, every achievement, and every future plan, mystery has become one of the rarest qualities a person can possess. Most people believe that constant visibility creates influence, but the opposite is often true. The more available you become, something, the less people feel compelled to think about you. When every detail of your life is exposed, there is little left for the imagination to discover. Curiosity begins to disappear, and with it, a significant source of personal influence. Something. Human beings are naturally attracted to what they cannot fully understand. This has always been part of human psychology. The unknown captures attention because the mind instinctively seeks answers. It fills empty spaces with questions, possibilities, something, and interpretations. This is why some individuals remain unforgettable despite saying very little. Their silence creates room for imagination. Their restraint invites curiosity. Their careful choice of words leaves others wondering what remains beneath the surface. Something. They understand that not every thought deserves expression, and not every feeling requires public display. Many people mistake oversharing for authenticity. They believe that revealing every struggle, every ambition, something, and every emotional reaction makes them appear honest and relatable. While openness has its place in trusted relationships, constant exposure often produces the opposite effect. It removes every layer of intrigue. When people know exactly how you think, something, exactly what you plan to do, and exactly how you will respond to every situation, they stop paying close attention. Predictability reduces fascination because the human mind quickly loses interest in what it already understands completely. Something. Observe the people who quietly command respect wherever they go. They rarely dominate conversations simply to hear their own voices. They listen more than they speak. They answer questions without revealing everything they know. Something. They remain calm when others rush to explain themselves. This restraint is not arrogance, it is discipline. They recognize that words carry weight only when they are used with intention. Something. Speaking constantly weakens that weight because people begin filtering out unnecessary information. Silence, however, has the opposite effect. When someone who rarely speaks finally shares an opinion, something, others naturally pay closer attention because they know those words were carefully chosen. The desire to reveal everything often comes from insecurity rather than confidence. People frequently overshare because they hope transparency will earn acceptance. Something. They explain every decision to avoid being misunderstood. They announce every goal because they want encouragement before the work begins. They describe every success because they fear no one will notice it otherwise. Without realizing it, something, they become dependent upon immediate reactions from others. Their emotional satisfaction begins to rely upon responses, compliments, and validation instead of genuine progress. Mystery breaks this cycle. Something. It teaches you that your life does not need constant witnesses to have meaning. Your greatest ambitions do not require public announcements before they become real. Some dreams are strengthened by privacy because they grow without interference from unnecessary opinions. Something. Every goal shared too early becomes vulnerable to criticism, doubt, envy, and distraction. Sometimes even praise becomes dangerous. The excitement of receiving approval for announcing a future achievement can create a false sense of accomplishment. something. Reducing the urgency to actually complete the work. There is wisdom in allowing results to introduce you before your words ever do. A person who quietly develops their abilities while remaining unnoticed often surprises everyone around them. Their success appears sudden, but only because the world never witnessed the years of preparation. Meanwhile, those who constantly advertise their intentions often create expectations they struggle to fulfill. Their identity becomes attached to promises rather than accomplishments. People eventually judge them by what they repeatedly claimed instead of what they consistently produced. Mystery also protects you from unnecessary conflict. The more information people possess about your thoughts, your plans, and your weaknesses, the more opportunities they have to criticize, manipulate, or discourage you. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your inner world. Some individuals gather information not to understand you, but to use it against you later. They remember your moments of doubt. They collect your emotional reactions. They observe your vulnerabilities until the perfect opportunity appears to exploit them. Wise people understand that privacy is not fear, it is protection. Remaining mysterious does not mean becoming dishonest or emotionally distant. It means developing discernment. It means understanding that transparency should be earned through trust rather than given freely to everyone who asks questions. You can be kind without revealing every detail of your personal life. You can be honest without exposing every insecurity. You can be approachable without making yourself completely predictable. Balance creates strength because it allows you to remain authentic while protecting your peace. The modern world constantly encourages the opposite behavior. Every platform rewards immediate sharing. Every moment seems to demand documentation. Every achievement is expected to be announced before it has fully matured. People become accustomed to living for an audience instead of for themselves. Gradually, their identity becomes dependent upon being seen. They begin evaluating experiences according to how they appear rather than how they feel. This habit quietly distances them from genuine fulfillment because external attention replaces internal satisfaction. A mysterious person lives differently. They understand that not every beautiful moment requires an audience. Some victories become more meaningful when experienced privately. Some lessons become stronger when quietly reflected upon instead of immediately discussed. They allow experiences to transform them before presenting those experiences to the world. This creates depth because wisdom develops through reflection rather than constant expression. Another advantage of mystery is emotional stability. People who reveal every feeling often become trapped by those emotions. Every disappointment becomes public. Every frustration invites opinions. Every setback requires explanation. This constant exposure makes emotional recovery more difficult because private struggles become public performances. A reserved person, however, processes emotions with greater patience. They give themselves space to understand what they feel before speaking. They respond instead of reacting. This habit creates an appearance of calmness that others naturally associate with strength. Respect is rarely built through endless self-disclosure. It grows through consistency, composure, and quiet confidence. When your words become fewer, people begin listening more carefully. When your actions become greater than your announcements, your reputation strengthens naturally. When your life contains elements that remain known only to you, your sense of identity becomes rooted within yourself rather than within public approval. You no longer feel pressured to explain every decision or justify every silence because you understand that your value is not measured by how much of yourself the world can see, but by the character you continue to build when no one is looking. One of the greatest signs of emotional strength is knowing when not to speak. Most people believe power belongs to the one who has the perfect argument, the cleverest response, or the loudest voice. They rush to defend themselves at the first sign of criticism. They feel compelled to explain every decision, justify every action, and correct every misunderstanding. They believe silence is weakness, as if saying nothing means admitting defeat. Yet life repeatedly reveals a different truth. Silence, when chosen with wisdom rather than fear, is often far more powerful than endless explanations. Human nature is deeply emotional. When someone questions your character, spreads false information, or misunderstands your intentions, your first instinct is to respond immediately. You want to clear your name. You want people to know the truth. You want justice to happen as quickly as possible. These reactions are understandable because every person desires to be seen accurately, but emotions are rarely reliable guides in moments of conflict. The words spoken in anger, frustration, or desperation often create more damage than the original accusation ever could. Consider how many arguments continue for days, months, or even years simply because neither side was willing to remain silent. Every explanation led to another accusation. Every defense created another misunderstanding. Every emotional reaction became fresh material for more conflict. Instead of solving the problem, endless words fed it. The conversation became less about truth and more about winning. Pride replaced wisdom, and both sides walked away exhausted, convinced they had been misunderstood. Silence interrupts this cycle. It refuses to provide unnecessary fuel for unnecessary battles. It recognizes that not every opinion deserves your attention and not every accusation deserves your response. Some people do not seek understanding, they seek reaction. They provoke because your emotional response gives them satisfaction. They measure their influence by how easily they can disturb your peace. The moment you react exactly as they expected, they succeed. Your emotions become their victory. A calm person understands this hidden dynamic. They realize that emotional self-control is one of the highest forms of strength. Instead of asking, how can I prove them wrong? They ask, is this conversation worthy of my energy? That question changes everything. Many conflicts disappear the moment you stop believing that every misunderstanding must be corrected. There are situations where explanation is necessary, especially when truth protects innocent people or resolves genuine confusion. But far more often, explanations become endless attempts to change minds that have already decided what they want to believe. One of the hardest lessons to accept is that some people are committed to misunderstanding you. They interpret your actions through the lens of their own fears, insecurities, or personal interests. No amount of evidence changes their conclusions because their judgment was never based on evidence to begin with. Trying to convince such people becomes an exhausting emotional investment with little reward. You sacrifice peace in exchange for conversations that never truly move forward. There is another reason silence carries such power. It demonstrates confidence. When someone constantly feels the need to defend themselves, others begin wondering whether the accusations affected them more deeply than they admit. Excessive explanations often create suspicion instead of trust. They suggest insecurity rather than certainty. In contrast, a composed person communicates something entirely different. Their calmness suggests they know who they are. Their identity does not depend upon immediate approval. They understand that truth remains true whether it is instantly recognized or not. Think about individuals you have admired throughout your life. Chances are many of them possessed remarkable composure under pressure. They were not easily provoked. They did not waste time arguing with every critic. They allowed their actions to speak louder than their emotions. Their dignity remained intact because they understood that emotional discipline commands greater respect than emotional intensity. They recognize that strength is not measured by how loudly someone can defend themselves, but by how peacefully they can remain when others attempt to disturb them. Modern culture often encourages the opposite behavior. Every disagreement becomes public. Every criticism demands an immediate reply. Every misunderstanding turns into a debate that attracts spectators. People become addicted to defending themselves because they fear silence will allow false narratives to spread. Yet constant reaction gradually consumes their attention. Instead of focusing on building their lives, they spend countless hours responding to opinions that hold little real significance. Their purpose becomes secondary to their reputation. This is one of the greatest traps of emotional living. You begin organizing your behavior around the possibility of criticism. You become careful not because of wisdom, but because of fear. Every decision passes through the question, what will people think? Eventually, your own voice becomes difficult to hear beneath the noise of everyone else's expectations. Silence frees you from this prison. It reminds you that your responsibility is to live with integrity, not to manage every opinion that exists about you. There's remarkable confidence in allowing time to reveal the truth. Lies often demand constant maintenance. Truth rarely does. Those who know your character eventually recognize consistency. Those who genuinely seek understanding observe your actions over months and years, not just your words in moments of conflict. Character is proven through repeated behavior, not persuasive speeches. 1,000 explanations cannot replace one life lived with integrity. Silence also protects emotional energy. Every unnecessary argument drains attention that could have been invested elsewhere. Imagine how much progress becomes possible when you stop fighting battles that never deserved your participation. Instead of composing lengthy defenses, you develop new skills. Instead of chasing approval, you improve your discipline. Instead of responding to criticism, you quietly strengthen your character. The same energy that once fueled conflict begins producing growth. Another hidden strength of silence is patience. Most emotional reactions seek immediate relief. We want misunderstandings resolved today. We want respect restored immediately. We want everyone to recognize our intentions without delay. Patience understands that not every problem requires instant resolution. Some situations improve only through consistent action over time. Reputation is built slowly. Trust develops gradually. Respect cannot be demanded in a single conversation. It emerges from years of steady character. This does not mean allowing yourself to become passive or accepting injustice without wisdom. There are moments when speaking is necessary, when defending truth protects others or prevents serious harm. But those moments become clearer when your words are guided by purpose instead of wounded pride. A disciplined person chooses speech carefully because they know words lose their power when used carelessly. They do not speak simply because silence feels uncomfortable. They speak because their words serve something greater than their emotions. The strongest presence in any room is often the person who remains calm while everyone else loses control. Their silence is not empty. It is filled with confidence, self-respect, patience, and discipline. It communicates that they refuse to surrender their peace for the sake of proving themselves to people who may never understand them, because they have learned that lasting respect is earned through unwavering character rather than endless explanations. And true power belongs to those who master their own emotions before attempting to influence the emotions of anyone else. One of the most overlooked forms of strength is learning that your presence is valuable precisely because it is not constantly available. Many people spend their lives believing that being available to everyone makes them more lovable, more respected, and more important. They answer every call immediately, respond to every message without delay, accept every invitation, and rearrange their priorities whenever someone else demands their time. At first, this behavior may appear generous and kind, but over time, it often produces the opposite result. Instead of being appreciated, they become expected. Instead of being respected, they become taken for granted. What was once seen as kindness slowly becomes treated as obligation. Human nature has a remarkable tendency to undervalue what is always within reach. This pattern appears in every area of life. Things that require little effort are often appreciated less than things that demand patience, discipline, or waiting. Relationships follow the same principle. When someone knows you will always be there regardless of how they treat you, they gradually stop recognizing the value of your presence. They become comfortable assuming your availability. Your attention no longer feels like a gift because it has become a guarantee. This is why constantly chasing people weakens your position. Every unanswered message followed by another message. Every ignored invitation followed by another invitation. Every one-sided effort to maintain a relationship quietly communicates something dangerous. It tells the other person that your need for their attention is greater than your respect for yourself. Even if that is not your intention, repeated pursuit creates that impression. People naturally observe behavior more carefully than words. something. They believe what you repeatedly do, not what you repeatedly say. There is a significant difference between showing genuine care and abandoning your self-respect. Caring means investing in relationships that are mutual, healthy, and built upon appreciation. Something. Chasing means repeatedly giving your energy where it is neither valued nor returned. One strengthens connection, the other weakens dignity. Many people confuse persistence with loyalty when in reality, they are simply refusing to accept that not every relationship is meant to continue forever. One of the hardest lessons life teaches is that you cannot convince someone to value you by giving them more of what they already fail to appreciate. If someone consistently ignores your effort, increasing that effort rarely changes their perspective. More often, it reinforces the belief that your attention will always be available, regardless of how they behave. The imbalance grows larger while your emotional exhaustion grows deeper. Eventually, you begin questioning your own worth simply because someone else failed to recognize it. This is where boundaries become an act of self-respect rather than selfishness. Boundaries are not walls designed to keep people away. They are standards that determine how your time, energy, and attention are treated. They remind both you and others that your life has value beyond satisfying everyone else's expectations. A person without boundaries becomes emotionally available to everyone, but emotionally present for no one, including themselves. Many people fear becoming less available because they worry others will forget them. This fear often comes from confusing constant contact with genuine connection. Real relationships do not require endless pursuit to survive. They are sustained by mutual respect, shared effort, and sincere appreciation. If a relationship disappears the moment you stop carrying all of its weight, then perhaps you were never sharing the relationship equally in the first place. You were simply carrying responsibilities that belonged to two people instead of one. Scarcity has always influenced perception. When something becomes rare, people naturally notice its absence. Your presence works the same way. If you are always available, your absence carries little meaning because people have never experienced life without your constant attention. But when you begin valuing your own time, choosing your commitments carefully, and refusing to sacrifice your peace simply to remain included, people often become aware of what they previously overlooked. They begin recognizing the contribution you quietly made because it is no longer automatically provided. This does not mean creating artificial distance or playing manipulative games. Pretending to be unavailable simply to gain attention is another form of seeking validation. Genuine strength does not rely upon psychological tricks. It comes from building a meaningful life that naturally requires your attention. You become less available because your priorities deserve your focus, not because you hope someone will suddenly miss you. There is a profound difference between creating mystery through authenticity and manufacturing absence through manipulation. Protecting your energy also means recognizing where it is consistently wasted. Every relationship, conversation, and commitment carries an emotional cost. Some people leave you inspired, peaceful, and motivated. Others leave you drained, anxious, and emotionally confused. Wise individuals regularly examine these patterns. They ask themselves whether certain connections continue to nourish their growth or merely consume their emotional resources. They understand that protecting energy is not about avoiding people altogether, but about choosing carefully where their attention belongs. The modern world constantly encourages endless accessibility. Phones vibrate every few minutes. Messages arrive throughout the day. Notifications compete for attention from morning until night. Many people begin feeling guilty if they fail to respond immediately. They believe being constantly reachable is a sign of responsibility. Yet uninterrupted availability slowly destroys concentration, emotional balance, and inner peace. Every interruption pulls the mind away from meaningful work and deeper reflection. Every expectation of instant response teaches others that your time is permanently open for their convenience. Learning to step away from constant availability is an act of reclaiming ownership over your own life. It means allowing yourself uninterrupted moments to think, create, learn, and simply exist without external demands. During these quiet periods, your mind regains clarity. Your priorities become easier to recognize. Decisions become less influenced by urgency and more guided by purpose. Instead of reacting to everyone else's agenda, you begin living according to your own. There is also wisdom in recognizing that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your thoughts, emotions, and personal struggles. Trust should grow gradually through consistency, honesty, and mutual respect. When access is given too freely, it is often misunderstood as entitlement rather than privilege. Some individuals begin assuming they have permanent claims upon your time simply because you have never required them to respect your boundaries. This expectation becomes difficult to reverse unless you first recognize your own responsibility in creating it. A life built around pleasing everyone eventually pleases no one, least of all yourself. Every attempt to satisfy every expectation leads to emotional fatigue because there will always be another request, another demand, another opportunity to sacrifice your own needs. Strength lies in understanding that saying no to what drains you allows you to say yes to what truly matters. Your purpose deserves your best energy. Your family deserves your genuine presence. Your personal growth deserves uninterrupted attention. Your peace deserves protection from unnecessary distractions. People often admire those who appear centered, calm, and difficult to overwhelm. This quality rarely develops by accident. It grows through disciplined choices about where energy is invested and where it is withheld. It grows by refusing to chase those who repeatedly walk away, by accepting that not every relationship deserves endless effort, by valuing your own time as much as you value everyone else's, and by understanding that your presence becomes truly meaningful when it is offered with intention rather than given away without limit. Because the strongest people are not those who are available to everyone at every moment, but those who have learned that protecting their energy is one of the highest forms of self-respect and one of the clearest expressions of genuine personal power. One of the greatest differences between those who achieve lasting success and those who remain trapped in endless cycles of unfulfilled ambition is not talent, intelligence, or opportunity. It is their relationship with silence. Most people become excited by the idea of success long before they experience the discipline required to create it. They announce their dreams, describe their future victories, and seek admiration for goals that have not yet been accomplished. For a brief moment, they feel accomplished simply because others praise their intentions. Yet intention has never transformed a life. Only consistent action has that power. There is a strange temptation within human nature to talk about becoming extraordinary instead of quietly becoming extraordinary. The moment someone creates a new plan, starts a business, begins a fitness journey, or develops a meaningful goal, the urge to tell everyone appears almost immediately. They imagine the admiration they will receive. They picture people encouraging them, celebrating them, and believing in them. While encouragement can be valuable, there is also a hidden danger. Public recognition often satisfies part of the emotional reward that should have been reserved for completing the work. The excitement of talking about success can become a substitute for the effort required to achieve it. This is why many dreams disappear long before they become reality. The energy that should have been invested in disciplined action is spent explaining future achievements to people who have no influence over the outcome. Hours are lost describing plans instead of executing them. Days are consumed imagining applause instead of developing skills. Weeks pass collecting opinions instead of producing results. Eventually, the original excitement fades because excitement alone has never possessed the strength to overcome difficulty. The strongest individuals understand that real transformation rarely happens in public. It happens in ordinary mornings when no one is watching. It happens during late nights filled with focused work instead of comfortable distractions. It happens through thousands of invisible decisions that receive no applause. Every disciplined habit completed in silence becomes another brick laid in the foundation of future success. These moments rarely appear impressive to the outside world, yet they determine nearly every meaningful accomplishment that people later admire. something. History repeatedly reminds us that extraordinary achievements are almost always preceded by long seasons of obscurity. Before the recognition, there are years of preparation. Before mastery, there are countless failures. Before influence, something, there are endless hours of unnoticed improvement. Society often celebrates the visible outcome while ignoring the invisible process that created it. As a result, many people become impatient. Something. They desire public recognition without accepting the private sacrifice that recognition demands. Building your life in silence also protects your focus. Every unnecessary conversation about your ambitions invites opinions that may have little value. Something. Some people will encourage you sincerely. Others will quietly doubt you. Some will project their own fears onto your future. Others may become jealous before you have even accomplished anything. Something. Their reactions can slowly influence your confidence if you are not careful. Instead of remaining committed to your original purpose, you begin adjusting your direction according to everyone else's expectations. Something. What began as your dream gradually becomes a performance designed to satisfy an audience. Silence protects your independence. It allows your ideas to mature without constant interference. Something. Just as a seed develops beneath the soil before anyone sees the first sign of growth, your goals often require periods of hidden development. If the seed were constantly dug up to prove it was growing, it would never become a tree. In the same way, something. Every ambition requires uninterrupted time, consistent effort, and patient cultivation before it becomes visible to others. Many people underestimate the value of private discipline because discipline itself is rarely exciting. Something. It consists of repeating small actions long after the initial motivation disappears. It means continuing when no one applauds. It means working when no one expects you to. It means honoring promises made to yourself even when breaking them would be easier. Something. This quiet consistency gradually creates something far stronger than temporary inspiration. It builds character. Character becomes the invisible force that carries a person through moments when enthusiasm alone would have surrendered. Something. Results possess an authority that words can never achieve. A person may speak confidently about their future for years, but one undeniable accomplishment often communicates more than 1,000 speeches. Actions silence doubts that arguments never could. Something. Excellence answers criticism without speaking. Success introduces itself naturally because genuine achievement attracts attention without demanding it. People become curious about individuals whose work consistently exceeds their promises. Something. They trust those who produce more than they announce. There is another reason to work quietly. Success changes people differently when it is earned privately. Something. Individuals who spend years developing themselves without constant recognition often remain humble because they understand how difficult growth truly is. They remember every setback, every sacrifice, every lonely season that nobody witnessed. Something. Their confidence becomes stable because it is rooted in experience rather than applause. They know exactly what they survived to reach their current position, and no amount of external criticism can erase those lessons. In contrast, something. Those who rely heavily upon public validation often struggle when recognition fades. If confidence was built upon admiration, confidence weakens whenever admiration decreases. Something. They begin chasing attention instead of excellence because attention has become emotionally necessary. Their identity depends upon remaining visible rather than remaining valuable. Eventually, something. Maintaining the image becomes more important than continuing the growth that originally created it. Silence also teaches patience, one of the rarest qualities in modern life. Every day, people are encouraged to seek immediate results, instant recognition, something, and rapid success. They become frustrated when meaningful progress requires months or years, yet nearly everything valuable develops slowly. Trust grows gradually. Wisdom deepens through experience. Mastery demands repetition. Reputation forms through consistency. Something. There are no shortcuts around these realities. Attempting to accelerate them usually weakens the final outcome rather than strengthening it. A quiet builder understands that every day of disciplined effort compounds over time. something. One page written each day eventually becomes a book. One workout completed each morning transforms the body. One skill practiced consistently creates expertise. One honest decision repeated thousands of times shapes an admirable character. Something. None of these achievements require dramatic announcements. They require persistence. While others become distracted by comparison, competition, and constant self-promotion, the disciplined individual quietly accumulates progress until the difference becomes impossible to ignore. Perhaps the greatest reward of building your life in silence is the peace it creates within you. Your motivation no longer depends upon applause because your satisfaction comes from knowing you honored your commitments. Your confidence no longer fluctuates according to public opinion because it has been strengthened by private victories. You stop measuring your progress by how many people notice your journey and begin measuring it by how faithfully you continue walking your path. Every completed task becomes evidence that you can trust yourself. Every promise kept strengthens your identity. Every quiet sacrifice becomes another investment in a future that speaks for itself. Because the most powerful reputation is never built through constant explanation or endless self-promotion, but through years of disciplined action performed without the need for recognition, until your results become so undeniable that they introduce you long before you ever need to say a single word.